When you open your mouth in alignment with heaven, you activate the supernatural realm that rearranges circumstances, resources, and opportunities in your favor. There is a divine frequency your words carry, an anointing that summons abundance from places you didn't even know existed. For the next 30 minutes, as you release this prayer into the atmosphere, you are stepping into the creative technology of God, the power to command, to attract, to establish, and to manifest. Wealth is not just money. Wealth is influence, ideas, strategies, and divine connections. And when you pray with authority, all of creation hears you. Something shifts, something responds. Something begins moving toward you. You are not praying as a beggar. You are praying as a legislator in the kingdom. You are not speaking from lack. You are decreeing from dominion. This is the moment you recalibrate your inner world so that your external world must obey. As you declare these words, barriers break, limitations dissolve, and divine supply begins to locate you. You are invoking heaven's economy, commanding overflow, and activating the covenant of abundance that has always belonged to you. This is not ordinary prayer. This is spiritual alignment, prophetic activation, and supernatural positioning. For the next 30 minutes, speak with intention. Speak with authority. Speak with expectation. Because the wealth you attract will not just fill your hands, it will overflow into your assignment, your calling, your purpose, and every generation connected to your name. Wealth begins the moment your inner belief system comes into agreement with your divine identity. Everything God intends to release into your life must first be accepted in your mind, received in your heart, and spoken with conviction from your mouth. You do not attract abundance merely by wanting it. You attract it by becoming the version of yourself who knows, without hesitation, that abundance is your birthright. The enemy of wealth is not lack. It is disbelief. As long as you silently entertain thoughts of unworthiness, limitation, or insufficiency, you create internal resistance against what heaven is trying to deliver. But when your belief system aligns with God's truth, the gates of overflow open effortlessly. Your divine identity carries authority, creativity, and dominion. You were never designed to operate from scarcity. You were created to steward abundance. Wealth responds to identity. When you understand who you are in the spirit, resources are magnetized toward you. Doors open not because you knock harder, but because you show up with the consciousness of a kingdom ambassador. Every time you pray with confidence, you reinforce that identity. Every time you speak abundance instead of lack, you rewire your internal programming. Agreement is a spiritual law. When your inner world agrees with heaven's intention, your outer world must shift. Wealth is not only deposited externally, it is first formed internally. The moment you change the way you see yourself, heaven changes the way it delivers to you. You begin to move differently, speak differently, decide differently. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You stop shrinking to fit environments that cannot handle your calling. You begin to expect divine provision, not as a miracle, but as a natural expression of who you are. Your belief system is the gatekeeper of your destiny. If you believe you are meant to live limited, life will comply. If you believe you are designed for overflow, resources will recalibrate to locate you. God does not withhold. You simply rise to the level you are willing to believe. Every moment spent in prayer strengthens the alignment between your identity and your inheritance. As that alignment deepens, you shift from hoping for wealth to attracting it effortlessly. Your words create spiritual momentum that attracts supernatural resources. Every declaration you release becomes a catalyst that sets unseen forces into motion, pushing your life toward the direction of abundance. Words are not empty vibrations. They are spiritual instructions, carrying authority, intention, and energetic direction. When you speak, you legislate. When you declare, you activate. When you decree, you authorize movement in places you cannot physically reach. Wealth responds to momentum, and momentum begins with the sound of your voice aligning with the frequency of possibility. Every time you speak life over your finances, your career, your opportunities, and your household, you are building spiritual velocity. Like a stone dropped in water, your words create ripples in the atmosphere, ripples that extend far beyond what your natural eyes can perceive. These ripples become currents, and those currents draw provision, connections, ideas, and divine appointments toward you. The moment you begin speaking consistently, boldly, and intentionally, you shift the energy around you. You shift the environment within you. Momentum begins with a whisper, but it grows into a force that becomes impossible to stop. Your words attract what you believe. When you speak from fear, fear multiplies. When you speak from frustration, frustration expands. But when you speak from faith, faith opens portals of supernatural supply. The enemy understands this principle well, which is why he works tirelessly to keep your mouth silent or filled with negative confession. But when you choose to speak with authority, when you choose to declare what God has spoken over your life, your words break cycles, dismantle limitations, and initiate movement in the spirit realm. Resource flow is often blocked not by circumstances, but by speech patterns. If your mouth contradicts what you are praying for, you slow your own momentum. But when your mouth aligns with your prayers, your momentum accelerates. This is why disciplined daily declarations matter. Your words are spiritual engines pushing you forward, even when your environment seems still. Every declaration plants a seed. Some seeds sprout instantly, others require time, but all of them are working beneath the surface. As you continue to speak abundance, doors begin to open. As you declare opportunity, people begin to appear. As you speak increase, ideas begin to illuminate your mind. The momentum builds gradually, and then suddenly everything shifts at once. Your words are not passive, they are powerful tools engineered to create movement in your life. When you speak consistently, you create a current that pulls wealth toward your path, aligning your atmosphere with the flow of supernatural resources. Your words create spiritual momentum that attracts supernatural resources. Every time you open your mouth with intention, you release a force that begins rearranging circumstances in your favor. Words are not passive expressions. They are active agents charged with the power to build, shift, summon, and transform. When you speak, you are not simply expressing thoughts. You are activating spiritual laws that govern movement, manifestation, and multiplication. Momentum in the natural realm is birthed in the spiritual realm, and that momentum begins with sound. Your voice carries frequency, authority, and divine permission. When you speak prosperity, you authorize prosperity to find you. When you declare increase, you create an energetic pathway for increase to travel toward your life. Spiritual momentum is created through repetition, consistency, and conviction. As you speak declarations daily, your words begin to accumulate power. Like pushing a heavy object, the initial effort may feel slow, but once movement begins, it becomes easier and faster. Words work the same way. The more you speak them, the greater the momentum they build. A single declaration may shift the atmosphere for a moment, but consistent declarations shift the atmosphere permanently. With each word, you gain spiritual velocity, and that velocity begins to draw resources into your orbit. Your words form magnetic fields around your life. When you speak lack, you attract lack. When you speak loss, you invite loss. But when you speak wealth, When you declare abundance, when you call forth financial increase, you activate a spiritual magnetism that pulls opportunities, ideas, and people into alignment with your intent. Resources respond to direction. Your words give them that direction. This is why Scripture teaches that life and death are in the power of the tongue. It is not metaphor, it is spiritual mechanics. You do not attract wealth by wishing for it. You attract it by commanding it with language rooted in faith. Words infused with belief vibrate at a higher frequency and travel further in the spirit. When you speak from a place of authority, heaven hears you. When you speak from clarity, the earth responds. When you speak from identity, the supernatural realm reorganizes itself to fulfill what you have decreed. Every declaration becomes a seed you plant into the atmosphere. Some seeds sprout quickly, others require time, but every one of them generates motion beneath the surface. As you continue to declare abundance, layers of resistance begin to break. As you speak increase, doors previously closed begin quietly shifting open. As you decree favor, alignment starts forming in unseen places. Momentum builds, and with each word, your life is pulled closer to the overflow assigned to you. Discipline in prayer unlocks consistency in manifestation. When you commit yourself to a rhythm of intentional, focused prayer, you create stability in the spiritual realm that begins to reflect itself in the physical realm. Manifestation is not random. It follows structure, rhythm, and alignment. Prayer is the discipline that trains your spirit to remain aligned with the flow of divine provision. The more consistent you are in prayer, the more predictable your results become. Discipline is not restrictive, it is empowering because it positions you to receive without interruption. Every moment you dedicate to prayer builds an inner foundation strong enough to carry the weight of the blessings you are asking for. Consistency in prayer develops spiritual endurance. It strengthens your faith, sharpens your expectation, and increases your sensitivity to divine direction. When you pray daily, you create a spiritual momentum that keeps you connected to the frequency of abundance. You stay in tune with the flow of resources God is already releasing. Many people pray once and give up when they don't see immediate change, not realizing that manifestation requires cumulative spiritual deposits. Each prayer adds pressure, adds power, adds spiritual force until what was once locked up finally breaks open. Discipline in prayer also trains your thoughts to align with your declarations. When you pray consistently, your mind becomes less reactive and more intentional. You stop entertaining mental patterns that conflict with what you are believing for. A disciplined prayer life eliminates doubt because repetition builds conviction. You begin to think in agreement with God's promises instead of reacting to your circumstances. This mental alignment accelerates manifestation because your thoughts no longer resist what your spirit is calling forth. Manifestation is the fruit of spiritual consistency. When your prayers become part of your daily rhythm, like breathing, like waking, like resting, you create an atmosphere around your life that supports continuous breakthrough. You begin to expect abundance as naturally as you expect the sunrise. You begin to walk with quiet confidence, knowing that your discipline is preparing a path for your desires to materialize. Discipline in prayer also opens your spirit to divine instructions. God does not only answer through miracles, He answers through strategies, ideas, connections, and inspired actions. A disciplined prayer life positions you to hear and recognize these answers without confusion. You move when God says move. You speak when God says speak. You shift when God says shift. And because you remain consistent, you never miss divine timing. When you show up in prayer every day, you signal to heaven that you are ready, prepared, and aligned for what you are asking to receive. A disciplined spirit becomes a magnet for manifestation, drawing increase, opportunity, and abundance toward your life with steady, unstoppable force. Poverty mindsets dissolve when you speak from your God-given authority. A mindset of lack is not just a financial condition. It is a spiritual and mental pattern formed through experiences, limitations, and environments that taught you to expect less than what God ordained for your life. When you begin to speak from a place of divine authority, you disrupt those patterns. You confront the beliefs that have kept you small, restricted, and hesitant. Authority shifts your internal identity. It reminds you that you are not defined by your past circumstances, but by your spiritual position as one who carries dominion, inheritance, and divine capability. Speaking from authority rewires the subconscious. Every declaration becomes a counterattack against years of internalized scarcity. When you say, "I am blessed," you silence the voice that once said you were unworthy. When you declare, "I attract abundance," you dismantle the belief that wealth is for others but not for you. Authority-filled speech does not simply sound powerful. It restructures the inner architecture of your thinking. It replaces limitation with possibility, fear with boldness, and doubt with expectancy. As you speak with divine authority, your mind adapts to the truth you are declaring. Over time, your thoughts begin to align with your words, and your words begin to align with God's intention. A poverty mindset clings to survival. An authority mindset commands expansion. Poverty thinking prepares for scarcity. Authority thinking prepares for overflow. Authority does not beg, it decrees. It does not hope vaguely, it speaks intentionally. It does not shrink back, it advances. When you embrace your authority, you stop asking life for permission to prosper. You begin to take ownership of the abundance already assigned to you. Authority changes your posture. It transforms the way you approach opportunities, relationships, decisions, and challenges. Instead of reacting with fear, you respond with clarity. Instead of seeing closed doors as rejection, you see them as redirection. Instead of settling for crumbs, you position yourself for the full table. Poverty mindsets keep you in cycles of hesitation, but divine authority unlocks a lifestyle of boldness and forward movement. When you speak from authority, heaven backs your words. You are not speaking your own ideas. You are echoing the truth of what God has already spoken about you. This echo carries weight in the spirit realm. It breaks old cycles. It confronts limiting beliefs. It dismantles generational patterns of lack. It awakens parts of you that have been dormant, waiting for your voice to release them. Poverty mindsets lose their power the moment you stop agreeing with them. Every authoritative declaration expands your capacity to receive. The more you speak from your divine position, the faster lack loses its grip, making room for abundance to flow freely into every area of your life. Wealth flows toward clarity, purpose, and aligned intention. When your inner world becomes focused and your desires become defined, you create a spiritual and mental pathway that abundance can follow. Confusion repels opportunity because it sends mixed signals into the atmosphere, but clarity acts like a beacon. It announces to the universe, to the spiritual realm, and to your own subconscious exactly what you are ready to receive. When you know what you want, why you want it, and how it aligns with your purpose, you become a magnet for provision. Wealth is drawn to the person who understands their direction, not the one who lives in hesitation or uncertainty. Clarity is not simply knowing what you desire, it is knowing who you are. When you understand your purpose, you stop chasing things that do not belong to your destiny. You stop wasting energy on misaligned paths. Your focus sharpens, your energy stabilizes, and your intentions become powerful. Purpose gives your declarations authority. It gives your prayers a target. It gives your decisions meaning. The moment your purpose becomes clear, opportunities begin to appear that were previously invisible. Clarity unlocks visibility. Purpose unlocks access. Aligned intention is the spiritual bridge between desire and manifestation. Many people want wealth, but their intentions contradict their prayers. They ask for increase, but think thoughts of fear. They desire abundance, but make decisions rooted in survival. Alignment means your thoughts, words, actions, and spirit all point in the same direction. When your intention is pure, focused, and aligned with divine assignment, manifestation accelerates. Nothing stands in the way of a soul that is fully aligned with heaven's agenda. Wealth responds to intention because intention governs energy. When your intention is scattered, your energy is scattered. But when your intention is aligned, your energy becomes powerful. You begin to operate with precision. You begin to make choices that match the future you desire. You say no to distractions and yes to elevation. You stop tolerating environments that minimize your calling. Clarity makes your spirit more decisive. Purpose makes your spirit more resilient. Alignment makes your spirit more magnetic. Wealth gravitates toward individuals who are positioned, prepared, and aligned. It flows to those who know what they are building, what they are believing for, and what they are assigned to accomplish. When your intention matches your purpose and your clarity guides your path, abundance finds no resistance in reaching you. It moves toward you naturally because you have removed the internal fog that once blocked its flow. Wealth follows the path of the focused, and it accelerates toward the one who is fully aligned with what God has called them to become. Divine ideas are heaven's currency for earthly breakthrough. Every major shift in your life begins not with money, connections, or opportunity, but with a God-inspired idea planted in your spirit. Ideas are spiritual seeds, carrying the potential for transformation, elevation, and expansion. When God wants to increase you, He often begins by awakening your imagination, illuminating your mind, and unlocking concepts that carry the power to open new financial and spiritual dimensions. Divine ideas are not ordinary thoughts. They are revelations, strategies, and insights designed to position you for breakthrough. These ideas carry the blueprint of abundance. They come with instructions, direction, and supernatural intelligence that rises above human logic. When you receive a divine idea, it resonates with your spirit because it aligns with your calling, your assignment, and your season. It feels bigger than you, yet deeply connected to you. Divine ideas stretch your capacity, challenge your limitations, and activate your potential. They pull you out of comfort and into purpose. Heaven's currency flows through inspiration. God downloads ideas that reorder your perspective and open your eyes to solutions you never considered. These ideas might come during prayer, in silence, through dreams, through divine encounters, or even in moments of stillness when your mind finally becomes quiet enough to hear. When you honor these ideas, write them, pray over them, and act upon them, you unlock streams of wealth that never existed before. Every invention, business, movement, and breakthrough began as an idea whispered into someone's spirit. Divine ideas require faith. They often appear in seasons where resources look limited, but the idea itself carries the provision. The idea becomes the seed that attracts what you need. When you move in obedience to a divine idea, doors open that were previously shut. People come into your life who carry the skills, resources, and connections necessary for manifestation. Provision aligns with purpose. The idea becomes the magnet that pulls everything together. Ideas from heaven elevate your thinking. They detach you from survival mode and shift you into creative authority. Instead of asking how, you begin to ask when. Instead of seeing obstacles, you begin to see possibilities. Divine inspiration enlarges your vision and breaks the ceiling of limitation. Your mind becomes a conduit for supernatural intelligence, and your life begins to move in the direction of your God-given creativity. When you steward divine ideas with commitment and conviction, you step into the flow of divine prosperity. These ideas are heaven's way of transferring wealth into your life. They carry innovation, strategy, impact, and increase. As you receive and act upon them, you unlock levels of abundance that conventional thinking could never access. The atmosphere responds to prophetic declarations spoken in faith. Every word you release carries a vibration that interacts with the spiritual environment around you. When you speak with conviction, you stir the unseen realm and initiate movements far beyond what your natural eyes can detect. Prophetic declarations are not mere affirmations. They are spiritual commands backed by divine authority. When spoken in faith, they penetrate barriers, shift atmospheres, and create openings where none previously existed. Faith gives your words weight. It transforms speech into a creative force, capable of rearranging outcomes, redirecting energy, and calling forth what has not yet manifested into the physical realm. The atmosphere is always listening. It responds to the frequency of your belief. Fearful words reinforce stagnation, but faith-filled declarations cause movement. When you speak prophetically, you are not reacting to your circumstances. You are legislating over them. You are telling the environment what it must become, not describing what it currently looks like. This is why declarations spoken in faith carry such power. They bypass the limitations of the seen world and operate according to the laws of the unseen. Heaven does not respond to emotion, it responds to faith. Prophetic declarations create spiritual pressure. Every time you speak, you release a force that pushes against resistance. At first, it may seem as though nothing is shifting, but in the spirit, pressure is building. Atmospheres are bending, strongholds are weakening, pathways are forming. Faith spoken consistently becomes a spiritual battering ram that eventually breaks open what once seemed unbreakable. Every declaration builds momentum until the environment aligns with what you have spoken. The atmosphere also mirrors your identity. When you speak from uncertainty, the atmosphere reflects confusion. But when you speak from authority, the atmosphere reflects dominion. Prophetic declarations remind the environment of your spiritual rank. They awaken your authority and signal to everything around you, seen and unseen, that your words carry divine backing. Your declarations become instructions to circumstances, commands to opportunities, and assignments to resources. The spiritual realm cannot ignore a voice anchored in faith. Prophetic speech changes your internal atmosphere as well. When you declare truth, you silence fear. When you speak destiny, you weaken doubt. When you release prophetic words, you elevate your internal vibration to match God's intention for your life. Your inner world shifts first, and your outer world follows. Faith-filled declarations recalibrate your emotions, stabilize your mindset, and strengthen your spirit. The more you speak prophetically, the more responsive your atmosphere becomes. Over time, it begins to shift quickly in your favor because it has learned to obey your voice. Declarations create patterns, and patterns create environments. When your words consistently carry faith, authority, and expectation, the atmosphere aligns itself to manifest the very things you have spoken. Financial elevation is a byproduct of spiritual alignment. When your inner world comes into agreement with divine truth, everything in your external world begins to shift in response. Wealth is never the starting point. It is the result of alignment, clarity, spiritual order, and an awakened identity. Elevation does not begin with strategies, opportunities, or connections. It begins with the posture of your spirit. When your heart, mind, and intentions align with God's principles, you naturally rise into the flow of abundance designed for your life. Financial elevation becomes inevitable because the spirit always leads and the natural follows. Spiritual alignment is the process of bringing every part of your being into harmony with divine purpose. It means your thoughts agree with God's thoughts, your words agree with His promises, and your decisions reflect your kingdom identity. When you are aligned, you stop striving from a place of fear and begin moving from a place of confidence. You stop chasing money and begin attracting it. You stop reacting to circumstances and start shaping them. Alignment shifts you from uncertainty into authority. It positions you to receive what has already been prepared for you. Financial elevation requires spiritual clarity. When you know who you are, what you carry, and what you are called to accomplish, you stop settling for less than what heaven intended. Clarity sharpens your discernment, and discerning people make different decisions. You begin to invest your time differently. You begin to choose relationships that to support your assignment. You begin to pursue opportunities that match your calling. This alignment naturally elevates your finances because your lifestyle begins to match the frequency of abundance. Spiritual alignment also purifies your motives. It moves you away from seeking wealth out of fear, insecurity, or desperation, and repositions you to pursue prosperity with purpose. When your motives align with God's intention, you gain access to supernatural favor. Doors open not because you force them, but because your purpose requires them. Wealth flows toward purpose. Money moves toward meaning. Financial elevation follows those who understand that their increase is connected to their assignment, their influence, and their impact. Alignment produces inner stability. This stability is essential for financial elevation because instability repels abundance. When your emotions are unanchored and your thoughts are scattered, you block the flow of ideas, creativity, and opportunity. But when your spirit is grounded, when your mind is centered, and when your heart is anchored in faith, you become a vessel capable of carrying greater levels of increase. Spiritual stability attracts financial stability. Alignment activates divine timing. Often, people struggle financially not because opportunities are unavailable, but because they are misaligned with the timing of those opportunities. When your spirit is aligned, you move when God says move. You act when He whispers. You pause when He restrains you. This is how people step into the right room at the right moment, meet the right person at the right time, or say the right word that opens unexpected doors. Alignment synchronizes your life with supernatural timing, leading to elevation that feels effortless. Financial elevation also flows from spiritual obedience. When you hear divine instruction and respond without hesitation, you position yourself for breakthrough. Obedience unlocks provision because obedience is agreement. When you agree with God through your actions, heaven agrees with you through manifestation. Many breakthroughs are delayed simply because people hear but do not act. They sense direction but resist it. Every act of obedience creates movement in the spirit, and that movement translates into financial opportunity, favor, and expansion. Spiritual alignment transforms your belief system. You cannot rise financially while thinking thoughts of limitation, lack, or unworthiness. Alignment uproots those beliefs and replaces them with truth. You are chosen, equipped, capable, and destined for increase. When your beliefs elevate, your decisions elevate. When your decisions elevate, your habits elevate. When your habits elevate, your lifestyle elevates. This chain reaction leads to financial elevation because your internal reality begins to support a higher external reality. Alignment also magnetizes divine ideas. Wealth is often hidden inside an instruction, a concept, or a revelation. When your spirit is tuned to God, you gain access to ideas that carry the power to transform your financial life. These ideas carry strategies, solutions, business concepts, creative downloads, and inspired steps that open streams of income. Spiritual alignment positions you to receive these ideas clearly and confidently. Financial elevation is sustained through spiritual maturity. Elevation without maturity leads to collapse, but elevation built on spiritual grounding leads to overflow that lasts. Maturity teaches you how to steward wealth wisely, how to expand without losing your center, and how to handle increase without compromising your character. When you grow spiritually, you grow financially because you develop the capacity to manage more, build more, and become more. When your spiritual life aligns with divine truth, financial elevation becomes a natural consequence rather than an uphill battle. Abundance flows toward alignment because alignment creates order, clarity, purpose, and capacity. It opens the pathway for resources to find you, favor to recognize you, and opportunities to align with your destiny. What you decree repeatedly becomes your lived reality. Every word you speak is a seed, every decree is a blueprint, and every declaration is a spiritual command that shapes the environment around you. Repetition is not empty, repetition is reinforcement. When you decree something again and again, you carve it into your consciousness, you stamp it on your atmosphere, and you imprint it into the unseen realm. Your decrees become instructions to your future, signals to your spirit, and messages to the universe about what must begin aligning on your behalf. Consistent declarations build spiritual momentum, and that momentum begins forming the reality you eventually walk into. Your life is always moving in the direction of your dominant decree. Whatever you repeatedly speak eventually becomes what you repeatedly see. This is why your life changes when your language changes. Words mold your mindset, and mindset molds your decisions. When your words shift, your identity shifts. When your identity shifts, your behavior shifts. When your behavior shifts, your environment shifts. Every decree is a choice to rewrite your narrative, reshape your expectation, and reorder the spiritual atmosphere surrounding you. Repetition rewires your subconscious. The subconscious mind absorbs what it hears most often, whether positive or negative. If you constantly decree doubt, fear, lack, or limitation, your subconscious will program your life to match those conditions. But when you decree abundance, success, provision, increase, and divine favor, your subconscious begins aligning with those realities. It starts filtering your thoughts differently. It starts guiding your actions differently. It starts preparing your spirit to receive what you have been declaring. Your subconscious cannot resist repetition, it must adapt to it. In the spiritual realm, repetition builds pressure. A single decree may create a ripple, but repeated decrees create a wave. That wave becomes force. That force becomes movement. That movement becomes breakthrough. Every decree you release adds weight to your spiritual command. Over time, those commands accumulate until they break through resistance that once seemed immovable. Manifestation often appears sudden, but it is the result of countless decrees spoken in faith that built invisible pressure until the natural realm had no choice but to yield. Repeated decrees also recalibrate your emotional state. When you speak truth consistently, your emotions begin to stabilize around what you say. Anxiety weakens because your decrees anchor your spirit. Fear dissolves because your words reinforce courage. Negative emotions lose their grip because your decrees keep reminding your inner world of your authority. Consistency in speech creates consistency in emotion, and emotional stability creates a fertile environment for manifestation. Repetition is a spiritual law. God himself used repetition to establish creation, and God said appears again and again because creation required repeated command. Prophets spoke things repeatedly because repetition increased spiritual potency. Even in the natural world, repetition strengthens what you practice. Muscles grow through repeated movement, habits form through repeated actions, and knowledge deepens through repeated study. Your decrees follow the same pattern. The more you speak them, the stronger they become. Repeated decrees shape your expectation. Expectation is the engine of manifestation, and the more you decree something, the more you expect it. As expectation grows, your spiritual posture changes. You start looking for opportunities that match your decrees. You become more sensitive to divine instruction. You begin making decisions aligned with what you are calling forth. Expectation opens your eyes to what already exists around you but was previously unseen. What you decree repeatedly becomes what you anticipate, and what you anticipate becomes what you magnetize. Your decrees not only transform your inner world, they influence your external environment. People respond to you differently when your language is aligned with confidence and authority. Opportunities gravitate toward individuals who speak with clarity and conviction. Doors open for those who speak like they belong in the room. Consistent decrees shape your energetic presence, and your energetic presence shapes how the world interacts with you. Repetition is also protection. When challenges rise, your decrees become your shield. When negativity tries to influence your mind, your declarations remind you of your identity. When setbacks attempt to discourage you, your repeated words keep you anchored. They act as spiritual reinforcement, stabilizing your faith when circumstances attempt to shake it. When you decree with persistence, your words become law in your life. They gain authority, they gain power, they carry spiritual weight. The reality you create through repetition eventually becomes the reality you live in, walk in, and influence others through.